Hey, everybody, welcome back to the podcast. This is the Washington Football Maniacs podcast. My name is Greg, and if you're new here, please consider subscribing because this channel is dedicated to the Washington Commanders, soon to be one of the best franchises in the league. So you're going to want to check that out. Also, check us out on Podbean as well. We will be expanding to other podcasting platforms, so get ready to check us out. If you want to just hear some audio, that's fine. That way you're not looking at this ugly mug. Anyway, so the first impressions of Kliff Kingsbury after watching his interview, to me, the first word that comes to mind is collaborative, because it sounds like that, for one thing, he was asked about the air raid offense. This sounds like what he's going to come to Washington with to install isn't going to be necessarily your standard air raid offense. A lot of people are like, why don't we just keep Eric Bieniemy, because Kliff Kingsbury is just going to want to throw the ball all around the field in that air raid offense. Why do we need to make changes? We already had that with Eric Bieniemy. Well, after yesterday listening to the interview, it sounds like that, he spoke a lot about the running game. And for me, this is very good news. It's very good news for guys like Brian Robinson, for instance, Chris Rodriguez. But it's also good news for whatever quarterback, whoever is going to be starting at QB1, because this is going to take a lot of pressure off of the quarterback to establish a good, solid running game. And, he spoke about Bobby Johnson, the offensive lines coach, about how, the Giants were tops of the league, or right up there at it, about a year or so ago with Saquon Barkley and their rushing game. Excuse me. And how, that really spoke volumes to me, because he talked more about the running game, honestly, than what I picked up, than what he really spoke of in terms of the passing game. But, also things kind of, were touched upon as far as the coaching hires in general. Excuse me. It was a collaborative move. So it wasn't just all Kliff Kingsbury, wasn't all just Adam Peters, wasn't all just Dan Quinn. It was all of them together collaborating to come up with hiring these coaches on offense. So I know some people had mentioned the comment as to, well, what if all of these coaches have their own ideas of things, and when you've had some success, or you've been up to the top in terms of coaching in the NFL, then you tend to want to do things your own way. And so, the fear was that these guys would not be able to collaborate enough. They're all going to have their own egos and all feel like they know better about how to run the offense. And I didn't get that at all. From a collaborative standpoint of hiring these other guys and agreeing on it, and making sure that everybody knows that, number one, they're going to have an input into things. It's not going to be all Kliff Kingsbury, although I believe that he's going to install the basis of the offense, and then he's going to, he talked about always looking at other offenses and seeing what could work within his offense. So he's all about being innovative and bringing in other guys with other ideas, especially with the run game, the pass game, stuff like that, that he is very collaborative. He's very open to keep molding his offense to the talent that he has on the team. And that was the other thing, too, that I really enjoyed, that I think spoke volumes about Kliff Kingsbury, is the fact that he talked about, not forcing certain plays or offenses and things on players that they can't do. And I think that's extremely important because that's one thing that I really enjoyed about Joe Gibbs and his offensive staff back in the 80s and early 90s is the fact that he knew what he had as far as talent wise, and he got the most out of those players by putting them in situations or giving them plays that he knew that they could accomplish. And, whatever, like with Mark Rippon, um, he could stretch the field with his arm. He wasn't. He was not very good when it came to the short passing game. Uh, those footballs were kind of ducks in a way, but he had a fantastic deep pass. It was a beautiful deep pass, and so Joe Gibbs realized that he could utilize Rippon's abilities with that to stretching the field, and it really helped. I mean, it all came together in 1991, and honestly, that Redskins team was one of the most dominant teams I'd ever seen in pro football. So with Kliff Kingsbury, that's what I enjoyed hearing from him was the fact that he wants to take the talent that he has, figure out what they can do best, and he's already studying games right now as it is. So he's already going to have a good idea about what these guys can do best in what situations, and he's going to install an offense that's going to get the best out of our players. So overall, I really enjoyed. I felt really good about the interview. I mean, or the press conference, and of course, I know talk is cheap. You've got to be able to get out there and actually perform and put it together. But at the same time, I think that we have a winning combination here. I think we've got the right OC in place. We got the right supporting staff around him in place, and I think we're in for some good times, folks. So, um, again, Kliff Kingsbury, first impressions, collaborative, open minded, ready to get to work, ready to get the best out of his players. And so those are my takeaways from his press conference. All right, folks, I hope you enjoyed the short podcast. If you did, please consider subscribing to it. And with that said, I will see you in the next one. Take care and held to the Washington Commanders.